It started with a substitute teacher. A Tuesday in fall. She handed out crayons, asked the second graders to draw their favorite place. Something peaceful. Something real. She expected rainbows, tree houses, maybe a park. But every kid drew the E. Same thing. A forest. Gnarled trees. Hollow trunks. A spiral clearing in the middle. She didn't think much of it, until the teacher next door said her class had done the same. So had the other two classrooms. Different kids, same forest. She lined up the drawings, laid them side by side. The spirals matched perfectly. The trees tilted the same way. Even the moon was drawn half full. They asked the kids where it came from. Most just shrugged. A few said, "I've been there." One girl whispered, "We go at night, in dreams." The drawings were collected, boxed up, labeled Project 1991 Art Week, left in the school basement and forgotten. Years passed, kids moved, school changed hands. But that box stayed, dusty, unopened, until 2023. A grad student researching child psychology found them during a renovation. Dozens of nearly identical forests, all drawn in 1 week by children who'd never met. She scanned one, uploaded it to a mapping algorithm by accident. And the software flagged it, because somewhere in the hills north of town, the satellite data showed a match. The student, Ava, didn't understand what the algorithm flagged at first. The image data returned coordinates. Rural, undeveloped. No trail, no structures, just trees. The AI labeled it Match Confidence, 94.7%. Not art style, not texture, topography. She clicked the coordinates, a stretch of land just outside Pine Mill, a town she'd never heard of. Population 342. Zooming in, she saw it. The shape. A spiraled clearing, framed by trees that bent inward, like something was pulling them. She looked back at the drawing. A child's signature in the corner. Kara M. The spiral matched, right down to the crooked notch in the top curve. She checked the satellite's timestamp. The spiral first appeared 2 months ago, but the drawings were made 32 years ago. Her heart raced. She emailed her advisor, attached the coordinates, the scans, the subject line, "Please tell me I'm wrong." But before she hit send, she received a message. No subject, no sender, just an image. It was one of the drawings, but aged, darkened, and her name, Ava, written in a child's handwriting at the bottom. Then a second message. "You've seen it now. Don't forget it." She called the local zoning office, asked about that plot. A man answered, said the land was unusable, soil dead. Animals avoided it. When she asked if anyone lived near it, he paused, then said, "Not anymore." She asked why. He hung up. She rented a car, drove up from campus, through 2 towns, past empty farms, until she reached Pine Mill. Faded sign. 1 gas station. 1 diner. At the diner she asked about the drawings. No one spoke, but one man looked at her long, finally muttered, "They said it wasn't real, but we knew better." He slid her a napkin, Drew the spiral. Perfectly. Saw it once. He whispered. Didn't walk in. Never looked back. She asked what was in the middle. He said, "That's the part that draws you, not the forest, the empty." She drove to the edge of town, parked, hiked the coordinates. The trees looked normal, until they didn't. Ahead, the forest bent. Not broken, bent inward, like bowing. At the center, an open space, flat, silent, and dead still. She stepped 1 foot into the spiral. Her ears rang, and she heard a child's voice say, "Finally." Back at the motel, she searched for Kara M. There were 5 Karas in that year's class lists. Only one matched the signature. Kara Marin. The school records said Kara moved in 1992. No forwarding address, no contact, just gone. No other records in the state database. Ava posted about it online, asked if anyone remembered Kara Marin. Just one reply. She used to draw spirals on her desk, every day. She reached out to the person. A woman in her 40s now. The reply came fast. "Don't follow this, please." Then a second message. Attached was a photo. Kara at age 8, holding a crayon drawing. The forest behind her wasn't drawn. It was real. The woman said the photo was taken on a field trip to nowhere. We hiked for 2 hours. Then she said she saw her forest. She walked in. We never found her again. Not even her shoes. Ava zoomed in on the photo. Behind Kara, trees leaning. The same spiral clearing, but different. The center was pulsing, slightly blurred. She reversed, image searched the photo. No matches, but the file name 312 wide last.jpg. A timestamp she hadn't noticed before. 3:12 p.m., 1 minute before Ava entered the spiral. She returned to the trail. This time brought chalk. Drew a line across the entrance, marked her position. Set a timer. She stepped inside. Silence again. But no ringing. Just wind. Soft. Whispered her name once. Then stopped. At the center, she found something buried shallow. A notebook, waterproof, wrapped in plastic, child's handwriting, first page, Kara. Each page described the forest, the sounds. The trees talk, but don't say words. One entry. I waited for them. They didn't follow. The spiral opens more when I stay still. A later page. Time goes weird here. I see the moon in the daytime. And Ava came last week. Ava dropped the journal. Stepped back. The page was dated 2023. But written in crayon. Same age handwriting. She flipped to the end. One last line. Don't follow the third spiral. That one isn't a door. It's a mouth. Then the trees rustled. No wind, just one branch tapping gently on her shoulder. She turned to leave, but her chalk line was gone. She ran, but the trail shifted. Landmarks gone. Sky dimmer. Like the spiral had pushed outward and brought her deeper. Every tree looked slightly wrong. Bent wrong. Too smooth. Like memory had redrawn them without texture. She found a backpack. Faded pink. Still zipped. Inside, snack wrappers, a drawing of the spiral, and a note. "It watches us draw it." She called out, "Kara!" No answer. But the birds stopped, like something had held their breath. Her phone buzzed. One new message. No number. Just a voice recording, her own voice whispering, "Don't turn around." She turned anyway. The clearing was gone. Only woods, and a small Polaroid pinned to a branch. Her face, from earlier that day. She pulled it down. On the back. "You didn't step in. You were pulled." She walked for what felt like hours. The sun never moved. Finally, she saw her car. Parked, as if nothing had happened. But on the windshield, a note in crayon. "Found you." And on her rear-view mirror, a fresh drawing. Not hers. Not scanned. But still warm. Back at campus, she tried to forget. But every time she looked away, she saw circles, spirals in her coffee, on the whiteboard, carved into the wood of her desk. Her dreams shifted. Always the forest. Always quiet. Always Kara. Watching. Not speaking. One night, her window blew open. A single leaf flew in, curled into a spiral before it hit the floor. She received a package. No return address, just her name. Inside, a map of the town. One trail circled, handwritten in child's block letters. They all went back. She followed the path again, this time at sunset. Carried Kara's notebook. Spoke softly to the trees. "I'm not trying to take her place." The clearing was waiting. So was the journal, opened to a blank page. As she knelt to close it, a new line wrote itself. "Then why did you draw it?" The spiral glowed faintly, like heat, but no warmth came from it. Just the memory of warmth. The ground beneath her foot pulsed, like a heartbeat, slow, heavy, and the sky overhead dimmed. One cloud spiraled gently above the trees. She whispered, "I didn't mean to." The trees whispered back, "But you remembered." Ava dug deeper into the archives, found 43 more drawings, all from the same week in 1991. All different students, all spirals, but each had one tiny detail different. A tree shape, a cloud, a bird. Together, they formed a map, a message. She laid them all out in the lecture hall, covered the floor, stepped back. The spirals weren't just decoration. They made an eye. She felt watched. The lights flickered. Her phone buzzed. "You finally see it." Each drawing had one red dot, always near the center. Ava aligned them, found new coordinates. Not the clearing. A second spiral. She marked it, hiked the trail. Not deep this time, but quieter, thicker air. And in the center, a single boot, child-sized, untouched. She picked it up. Underneath, a photo, a class, picture, her class. But Ava had no memory of attending school here, no memory of those faces, except one, hers. She flipped the photo. She forgot too much, so we brought her back. Then the wind picked up, sharp, circular, pulling inward. She posted the drawings online, asked for stories. Responses poured in from people across the country. Same spiral, same forest. Same year, 1991. One woman wrote, "I had dreams about it my whole childhood. When I stopped drawing it, I stopped sleeping." A man claimed his twin brother vanished on a hike that summer. When he showed Ava the location, it was within the E-O spiral. Another man mailed Ava his original drawing, with a note, "I buried this to forget. Why is it still warm?" She compiled the names, dozens, all marked by the same memory. One teacher emailed her privately. "We were told not to ask, not to talk about it, not to let them draw spirals again. We thought it was over." Ava asked, "What is it?" The reply, "We thought it was a dream, but it was a place. It just wasn't supposed to be real." She mapped every location, every spiral. It formed a circle around Pine Mill, like a barrier or a cage. And in the center, one dot glowed red. A spiral Ava hadn't walked yet. She circled the date, March 13, 3:13 p.m. She found her childhood box, old toys, notebooks, and at the bottom, a sketchbook, sealed with tape. Her name written in uneven print. She opened it. First page, trees, spiraled clearing. Dated March 13, 1991. Her second grade handwriting. Second page, a girl standing at the edge of the spiral. Hair like hers, eyes crossed out. Third page, just a word. Follow. She flipped to the end. One last drawing. A spiral. Tighter, darker, alive. And next to it, a new drawing, added recently. It was the clearing, as it looked now, not then, now. Trees blackened, sky red. Ava kneeling at the center. She gasped, dropped the book, and saw her own signature, dated next week. She whispered, "It's happening again." And outside, on the pavement, a chalk spiral had drawn itself. At the center, a single crayon, still warm. The next morning, Ava walked past her building's hallway bulletin board. A new flyer had been pinned overnight. Plain white paper. One spiral in black ink. No text, just turning. No one saw who put it up, but several students mentioned feeling dizzy after looking at it. One girl passed out and mumbled, "She's inside again," before waking up confused. Ava tore the flyer down, folded it, placed it in her bag. When she checked again minutes later, it was back. Same spot, same spiral, turning slightly left. Now. She returned home, locked the door, and opened her notebook. The latest page, blank just last night, now had a sketch of the flyer pinned to a tree. Her tree. Beneath it, a note appeared in faint pencil. "Drawings are doors, but some open in." Her hands shook. Her pen rolled off the table and stopped perfectly at the page's edge. Ava flipped to an earlier page. The spiral there was deeper now, like someone had redrawn it over and over. The paper felt thicker, stiffer, almost like bark. She circled the spiral, said out loud, "This isn't mine," and the pencil in her hand snapped without touch, as if something agreed, but didn't appreciate being called out. At 3:13 a.m., Her phone buzzed. One notification. No sender. Just the word, "Open." Then the screen turned black. Not off, just black. In the morning, the notebook was gone. Her backpack unzipped. A small leaf sat in its place, curled into a spiral, pulsing faintly like it was breathing. She looked in the mirror. Behind her, the spiral flyer, hanging inside her room now, her handwriting faint on it. She drew you first. Ava received a package forwarded from her old hometown. No return address. Inside, a letter from her second grade art teacher, postmarked 1991, yellowed, sealed like it had never been touched. It began, "If you're reading this, it means you remembered. That's good. That's bad. We never wanted you to forget. But the forest did." Then, a torn edge and smudged crayon. The teacher described how each child in class began to draw the same forest, completely unprompted. How they insisted it was real, and how Kara was the first to disappear. One page included a photograph of the classroom wall, a mural of spirals. The kids painted one day. She claimed she never taught them how. They painted in silence, smiling. She wrote, "They weren't scared. That's what frightened me. They said the forest was waiting for me too. They said you would bring it back someday." Ava dropped the letter, looked out her window. The street below curved unnaturally now, a perfect arc. The sidewalk trees bending inward, welcoming or warning. She tried to record a voice memo. Her phone glitched. Her voice warped into a spiral of static. Playing back 3 simple words. "Door is open." A knock came at her door. Light. Rhythmic. She didn't answer. It repeated 3 times. Then silence. A crayon rolled under the door frame. Red. Still sharp. She opened the door. No one there. Just one more drawing pinned to the hallway wall. This time, her standing alone in the clearing, spiral beneath her feet, and behind her figure in the sketch, 9 other silhouettes, all children, all faceless, all reaching. Ava mapped the drawing locations. Something strange emerged. Each sketch correlated with unexplained GPS pings, brief like a breath, from phones that hadn't worked in decades. The coordinates led to old forest paths now closed off. Park records listed them as unsafe terrain, but her overlays told a different story. They formed a ring around town. At the exact center, her childhood school. She visited it the next day, now converted into a community center. But the old art room still existed. Tiled walls, paint-stained floors. One corner had been walled off, badly. The custodian said, "Kids kept drawing on that wall. No matter how we painted over it, always the same thing. Curves, spirals. We finally just sealed it off." She found a vent near the corner, peeked in. Inside, hundreds of drawings. Taped, stacked, stuck. All spirals. Some moving slightly, even without breeze. She reached in, pulled one out. It crumbled to ash in her hand, revealing a new drawing underneath. A self-portrait. Her, older. Holding hands with a child. Kara. A line of crayon scrawled across. The bottom. "We need the 10th." Her heart raced. Her head spun. The spiral on the floor beneath her feet flickered slightly under the light. She snapped a photo, sent it to her advisor. 5 minutes later, his response: "Why did you send me a picture of you in the forest?" She hadn't been in it. She checked the image again. Behind her in the photo, trees, bending, spiral, ground, and in the corner, a red crayon still drawing. She received a package from her mother. "Found this in the attic," the note read. Inside, a drawing she made in 1991. Folded, crayon smudged, but unmistakable. Her own spiral. Her own signature. But something new now. Another signature had appeared beside hers. Kara. In matching handwriting. At the center of the drawing, a third figure had been added. Not a child. Taller. Blank face. Outstretched arms, and beneath it, a word. Memory. She scanned the drawing. The image file refused to save. The software crashed. Her laptop hissed, not beeped, hissed. That night, she found the original drawing pinned above her bed. It hadn't been there when she fell asleep. And this time, the third figure was moving. In the morning, her bedroom mirror fogged as she showered. When she wiped it clean, the word 10th was written backwards in the steam. The floorboard beneath her creaked. She looked down. A crayon rolled from the gap. Same one. Still warm. She ran outside. Her building's shadow stretched further than it should. Along the street. Down the block. Curling at the end into a perfect spiral. She whispered, "I don't want to go back." And somewhere in the branches above her, a voice replied, "But you already did." She turned. Her reflection in the window now wore a red jacket, and blinked once, before she did. That week, a strange radio signal began circulating on shortwave frequencies. Amateur radio hobbyists picked it up first. Repeating tone, 4 rising notes, then static, then a child's voice. Draw what you remember. Show it to the forest. The voice looped every 3 minutes and 13 seconds. Always exactly. Ava recorded it, played it backwards. The message changed. If you forget, the spiral draws you again. If you draw it, you remember too much. One listener claimed his child drew the spiral in their sleep. Another found the pattern etched into their wood floor the next morning. Burnt in, not carved. Ava tracked the source. It pinged from inside Pine Mill, near the oldest section of forest. A fire watchtower, abandoned for decades. She hiked out, found the tower intact. The stairs creaked. The top room smelled like ash and crayon wax. Inside, a recorder. Still running. One tape, labeled Kara, but the voice on it wasn't Kara. It was Ava's. From that morning, saying, "I remember now." She never recorded that, but she remembered saying it. In a dream. Last week. The recorder clicked off. On the wall, someone had written, 10th, confirmed. Collection complete. Spiral open. As she stepped outside, the forest leaned forward, like it was listening again. A new spiral appeared overnight in the town square, drawn in white chalk. 10 feet wide. In the center, a child's shoe, faded, familiar. Inside it, a note. Kara waits. Ava stared at the spiral. Her fingers twitched. She took out a pen. Without realizing it, she drew it again. Smaller. Perfectly aligned. Like muscle memory. Buried deep. She flipped the paper. One line appeared without her writing it. 10 must stand. 1 must stay. She remembered a song from childhood, one they all sang on the playground, about trees and doors and forgetting. One Kara taught them, one no one else remembered. She visited the clearing one last time. At the center now, 9 small stones arranged in a spiral, and in the 10th space, her own name, carved faintly. She whispered, "Where are you?" And the ground responded, "Inside, still drawing." A crayon sat at the edge of the ring. Ava picked it up. It melted in her hand, warm, like breath, like memory re-entering skin. She knelt, traced the spiral once more, and the trees began to hum, quietly, a tone that resonated through roots. She said aloud, "I'm ready." A wind circled her, but nothing moved. Only her shadow shifted. Longer, stretching into the spiral. And on the notebook she left behind, a new page turned. Drawn in red. Kara, smiling. Holding Ava's hand. Inside the forest. Ava didn't return home, but her phone pinged once more. Last location, within the center of the spiral. GPS signal time-stamped 3:13 p.m. exactly. Authorities searched, found no one. But the chalk spiral in the square had turned faint red, and a 10th stone had appeared in the forest clearing overnight. Locals reported hearing laughter deep in the trees that night, children's voices, and one unfamiliar tune. In town, mailboxes received a drawing. No address, no postage. All the same. A spiral clearing, now full. 10 silhouettes, one holding a crayon. The school reopened its basement storage, found a new box inside, labeled 2024, filled with drawings no one remembered creating. All signed Ava. Some contained coordinates, some warnings, and one single instruction repeated, "Don't forget again." The town removed the chalk spiral from the square, paved over it, but cracks in the new concrete kept curling inward. And some mornings, just before sunrise, the shadows in the square still spiral toward the center, as if they're remembering something they weren't supposed to. The school art room was reopened for renovations. Workers tore down the sealed wall. Behind it, a hidden space. 10 chairs. 1 easel. Crayons melted into the floor. On the wall, names were carved. 9 known. 1 new. Ava. Above the names, a spiral. Burned, not painted. A scorch mark shaped by precision, not flame. A drawer beneath the easel opened itself as the light hit it. Inside, a fresh sketch pad. First page blank. Second page, Ava. Drawn, smiling. Hair waving like branches. The third page was unfinished. But the lines began to draw themselves. Slow. Steady. As if waiting for a memory to finish the rest. One worker fainted, said the room hummed, like it was remembering something. Or someone. Ava's name began to glow faintly in the carved list. Only hers. Not bright, but enough to be seen, even after the lights were cut. A researcher took the sketch pad to analyze. That night, she dreamt of crayons spinning like clocks. When she woke, her own face was drawn on the 5th page. The pad was returned, placed back in the drawer, but the pages kept turning on their own, slowly, rhythmically, one every 3 minutes and 13 seconds. They stopped turning after page 10. No more drawings, just a sentence. The 10th never stays long, and below it, a line written in red. But we draw her back. Trees began growing in unusual patterns around Pine Mill. Curved trunks, roots that traced perfect arcs. Satellite imagery showed spirals forming in undeveloped land around the town's border. Scientists cited mutation, climate shifts, but nothing explained the synchronized growth. Nothing explained how one spiral matched Kara's 1991 sketch line for line. Bird migration shifted subtly. Their flight paths mirrored the spiral's edge. Drone footage revealed a ring of untouched snow despite a blizzard, in the exact shape of the clearing. Local children began drawing again, unprompted spirals, always 10 figures. Sometimes trees bent inward. Sometimes a tower stood at the edge, one Ava had never seen. Ava's photo resurfaced on a missing persons board. Beneath it, someone pinned a child's drawing of her, standing in the forest, holding the hands of 9 smaller shadows. Each week, one new sketch appeared on the town notice board, all unsigned. The spiral always changing slightly, like it was spinning in real time. Old journals were recovered from homes built decades ago. Forgotten entries mentioning the watching trees and the girl who drew too well. One line appeared in multiple diaries. It only comes when remembered, but it leaves something behind. Botanists claimed the trees near the clearing were a species never catalogued before. They named it Silva memoria, memory wood. The bark, when carved, always curled into spirals, without guidance, without error. On March 13th, 3:13 p.m., all local radios, televisions, even streaming devices froze. One image displayed the spiral. One voice spoke. Drawn. Returned. Bound. Phones rang without dialing. Landlines that hadn't worked in years, all playing the same audio. Ava's voice. Calm. Steady. We remember. We stay. You forget. The broadcast ended after 313 seconds. Then total silence. No static, no hum, just absence. Power returned slowly. Devices rebooted with a new wallpaper. Kara's original spiral. One dot blinking in the center. Live tracked. But no one there. The drawing pad in the art room flipped its final page. It showed Pine Mill from above, with a perfect spiral of trees surrounding it. Underneath, 10 names. Ava's last. Highlighted. Beneath hers, a blank space labeled Next. A group of students found a new trail in the woods. Short, curved, leading to a ring of 10 chairs. Small, wooden, hand-carved. Each chair held a notebook. Each notebook had one line on the cover. Memory is a trail. and someone always walks it. They sat. They drew. Spirals formed in silence. And overhead, a flock of birds turned mid-air, flying the spiral path. The forest didn't vanish. It didn't spread. It waited, remembered, and for the first time, it drew us. Residents began finding old notebooks in attics and basements, spiral-bound, forgotten. But each held drawings of the forest, sketches no one remembered making, signed in their own handwriting. One man uncovered a school project from his childhood. 10 faces, 9 names he didn't know, and one, his own, crossed out in red, labeled "The One Who Stopped Drawing." A family discovered their daughter's coloring book had changed. Blank pages now showed forests, clearings, spirals, and in the corners, timestamps. 3:13. Always 3:13. Ava's last drawing resurfaced, folded into the seams of her old yearbook. The same spiral, but in the center now, a door, slightly open, and behind it, eyes. The town tried to stop the drawings, banned spirals in school, blocked websites, confiscated sketch pads, but the lines kept appearing, in condensation, in dust, in children's cereal. They painted over murals, but days later, the paint peeled, revealing newer spirals beneath. Ones no one remembered painting. Ava's name began appearing in public logs, guest books, class rosters, census files, places she'd never been, dated before her birth. 1. File from 1991 listed her as Observer 10. Status: incomplete. Researchers tried tracing the original spiral coordinates, but new satellite photos showed the forest had moved by exactly 31 mean. 33 meters. Inward. The spiral was shrinking, closing, or focusing. Archived footage from the 1991 school year surfaced. Film reels labeled Art Class Project. No one remembered filming, yet the video showed all 10 children drawing the forest in silence. The tape ended abruptly as the camera panned to the wall. On it, a chalk spiral, still spinning. The chalk unmoving, but the shape rotating like film burn. Freeze frame analysis revealed Ava sitting in the background, at age 7. Despite having no record of living in Pine Mill that year, a second tape showed Kara standing in the forest, smiling, holding a notebook. Behind her, the same 10 chairs found decades later. Audio enhancement revealed faint whispers. The spiral sees who sees it. The spiral waits for silence. The 10th returns when the 9th forgets. That night, researchers began to dream in sketch lines. Rough, sharp, spirals on ceilings, trees growing from their own thoughts. One researcher quit, said she kept waking with bark under her fingernails, though she lived in a high-rise apartment. Another began speaking in loops, the same 3 phrases. We drew it wrong. It drew us better. Ava's already in. The reels were locked away, then vanished, all data wiped. But the stills remained. Photocopies began to spread anonymously online. Each share traced back to one device. Ava's old tablet, logged in from coordinates inside the forest. Doctors in Pine Mill began noticing a strange mark on children's backs. a spiral-shaped birthmark that hadn't been there weeks earlier. Always the same size, always in the same spot. Some glowed faintly under black light. Others shifted shape slightly when the child dreamed. One girl began tracing hers in her sleep. Her finger moved slowly, counterclockwise. Her mother asked what she was doing. She said, "I'm drawing Ava home." Adults found similar marks, faint, almost invisible, but all remembered being part of the 1991 class. Some even remembered the drawing day. One man confessed, "I lied when I said I didn't see it. I did. I walked in. I heard the hum. I forgot. The rest on purpose." He vanished the next day. No struggle. Just gone. But his mark remained, burned into the carpet of his apartment. A spiral. Blackened. Smoking. Pine Mills Clinic began recording patients' dreams. 83% described spirals, trees, and the number 10 repeating over and over. Some wrote it out during sleep studies. Backwards. One boy said, "She's not alone now." When asked who, he whispered, "The girl who draws too much." The forest told her to wait. The town posted emergency notices, asked families to avoid sketching, but the warnings themselves warped. The spiral image burned into the paper during printing, and at 3:13 each day, every town speaker crackled once, then hummed. The forest began repeating itself, paths redrawn, trees replaced in exact positions, birds nesting in the same branches daily. Even fallen leaves returned to identical spots each morning. Hikers claimed they walked the same 5 minutes of trail for hours. Compasses spun. GPS spiraled in real time. The trail cameras returned corrupted footage. Identical frames replayed endlessly. Some saw flashes of the old class. 10 kids holding crayons, sitting silently in the clearing, watching, drawing. Ava's voice returned in another broadcast. Memory loops. Forgetting is release. Remembering draws the next in. Spiral resets. The library's spiral section disappeared. Replaced by notebooks no one recalled cataloging. Each filled with sketches of 10 chairs. Some blank. Some already filled. One chair always showed movement. Slight. Like whoever sat there wasn't still. Like they were sketching something alive. Ava's last notebook turned a new page. No one touched it. No wind. Just one sketch forming. Kara, alone this time. Smiling. Holding a pencil aimed at the viewer. The caption read, "I'll draw you when you forget me." That night, many forgot their own faces in mirrors. Just spirals staring back, and all of them heard one name in their dreams. Ava. In the forest's clearing, the 10 chairs remained. One newly carved, different from the others. Smoother. Warm to the touch. With Ava's name etched faintly in the wood. Visitors felt, pulled toward it. Like gravity. Not forced. Invited. A gentle nudge from memory itself. Those who sat claimed they saw the forest blink. Just once. Like it was watching them back. And when they stood up, many had drawn something without realizing. A spiral. a name, a location. One girl drew the face of her grandfather, who'd vanished in 1991. When she showed her mother, she said, "He was the 9th. You're the 10th." Weather patterns shifted. Clouds above Pine Mill curved more often. Thunder rolled in spirals. Rain fell in pulses. 13 minutes between heavy drops. The spiral in the square returned. Chalk redrawn each night. Erased each morning. Always exactly the same. Police posted cameras. But every feed cut out at 3:13 a.m. When resumed, the chalk was already laid. Perfect. Waiting. One night, a note appeared beside the spiral. Just one line. "Ava's turn is over. Yours begins." And the chair in the forest pulsed, faintly, like something underneath was remembering its shape. A new drawing surfaced. 11 chairs now. One added beyond the spiral's edge, slightly cracked, burned at the edges. And at the center, a name no one recognized. Felix. No student named Felix ever enrolled at Pine Mill, but a 1991 field trip log listed him once, then crossed, his name out in thick red marker. Labeled, withdrawn. Ava's old school file updated itself online. A new sibling added, Felix. No birth record, just one note. Joined late, left early, returned silently. The town archives servers glitched for 13 minutes. Rebooted with new documents, all spiral stamped, marked F memory. One document featured a hand-drawn spiral, followed by one sentence. If 10 remember, one forgets. If 11 remember, the spiral breaks. The forest grew louder, not with animals, with voices, faint singing. Children humming a tune that matched no known melody, but familiar. Ancient. The 11th chair appeared physically the next morning, beside the clearing, uncarved, but waiting. Ava's final sketch updated itself again. She stood now between chairs 9 and 11. One hand on Kara, one hand reaching back. Her eyes in the sketch looked different, less like a drawing, more like a mirror. And in the corner, a scribbled message. Felix remembers too much. A music file began spreading online. No metadata, no artist. Just the title. Cycle 303. It played one piano note, one breath, and a child's soft whisper. Listeners reported strange effects. Some drew spirals unconsciously. Others reported vivid dreams of walking a trail they'd never seen, always toward a hum they couldn't name. The audio waveform visualized as a spiral. Expert engineers said it was impossible. No sound should produce that pattern. Hidden deep in the track, a layered voice, slowed 313%. It spoke one line. We sing so memory doesn't fade. We hum so the spiral hears. One radio host played the track on loop for an hour. The station crashed. His studio spiraled with melted wires. He woke with Ava's name carved into his desk. The track spread to TikTok, then underground forums, reposted, replayed. Every time it played, at exactly 3:13 a.m., a tree in Pine Mill curved further inward. Lyrical analysis revealed the hum matched a lullaby once sung in an orphanage in 1904, long before Pine Mill existed. In that orphanage, a child named Felix was reported missing after drawing circles every day on the walls, whispering, "The forest is almost here." Back in the present, Ava's final drawing was found posted to a Reddit thread. But the user who uploaded it had no memory of doing so. And on that post's final comment, someone had written, "This isn't a song, it's a doorway." On April 4th, the sky over Pine Mill turned orange-red for 13 minutes. Weather services blamed dust particles, but it didn't spread beyond town lines. During that window, every device screen showed the spiral, pulsing gently. No apps, no OS, just memory, looping. 10 residents fell unconscious at the exact same second. They awoke reciting Ava's childhood poem, "Red trees bend, 10 seats end, 1 step back, let her in." A child's voice crackled through local speakers. "We drew it into the sky because no one else was listening." Photos of the sky showed faces in the clouds. Soft, hard to see. But once noticed, impossible to forget. One cloud mirrored Ava's last photo exactly. Government officials visited, took samples, said nothing. One left their notepad behind. Its only line, drawn in, and still drawing. Animals disappeared that night. Dogs refused to walk near trees. Birds spiraled until they vanished upward. Silence replaced every natural sound by dusk. In Town Square, the chalk spiral was blood-red the next morning. Not chalk. Something darker. DNA matched no one on record. The 11th chair in the forest finally cracked. A line split down the center. Inside, a spiral seed, still pulsing. And in Ava's sketchbook, the forest drew itself shut. Satellite data confirmed the spiral formation had sealed. The trees now formed an enclosed dome. Branches curved like ribs, no opening, no entry, like memory folded inward. People began forgetting again. Not just the forest, but Ava, Kara, the drawings. They recognized faces, not names, trails, not destinations. Web pages about the spiral vanished. Every link broken. Journalists who had covered it rewrote their own stories, unconsciously, focused on strange weather and local art rumors. One final message was broadcast by mistake. On a channel that no longer existed, Ava's voice, tired. "You drew me out. I remembered too much. I stayed too long." Local schools reopened with new murals. Spirals gone. But one shape returned in secret. A tree, drawn by every student. Identical. And, at the base, 10 dots. No one explained them, but all the dots connected, forming the spiral again, if seen from above. The town map was updated. A new trail marked "closed for renovation." But hikers who stepped near it heard laughter. Gentle, echoing, always in groups of 10. The forest remained, still, watching, but no longer reaching. Ava's sketchbook was found in a sealed locker. Final page read, "We closed it. You opened it. It will wait again." And under that line, a circle. Not spiraled, just full. Years later, a boy in a nearby town found a blank notebook on his doorstep. No name, just a red crayon tucked inside the spine. He opened to the first page. Without instruction, he drew a spiral. Perfect. Unbroken. When asked why, he said, "She said to start with memory." His parents dismissed it, but when they checked his room that night, a drawing was taped to his wall. 10 chairs, 1 tree, 1 figure watching. A new teacher arrived that fall. Asked the class to draw a forest. Every student, without exception, drew the same one. Again, the spiral had closed, but memory, like roots, keeps growing beneath the surface. Some drawings fade, others wait. This one returned, because someone remembered, and someone always will. And just before the bell rang at 3:13, the new student at the back of the room, the one no one noticed before, looked out the window and smiled. On her desk, Ava's old sketchbook. Final page turned. New page blank. 1 pencil ready. Spiral. Waiting. A week after the new drawings surfaced, the class was asked to present their favorite places. One by one, they described the same woods, different details, same spiral. One girl stood up, said, "I've been there." She pointed at her drawing. "That's where the voices taught me the song." No one laughed. No one interrupted. She hummed softly. The teacher dropped her pen. The windows shook. The room dimmed slightly, but no lights turned off. Later that day, all 10 classroom clocks paused at 3:13. Some reversed. Others spun. One bled faint ink across its glass. The numbers, now curved inward. The teacher found a note in her drawer. Unmarked. It read, "You taught Ava. Now she teaches them. Keep drawing." At home, the teacher checked old student records. Found her own childhood file. Inside, a crayon sketch she didn't remember making. The spiral. The chairs. Her name crossed out. She whispered, "I forgot," and her voice echoed in the kitchen. 4 seconds later, saying it back. She checked her mirror. For 1 second, she wasn't reflected. Just a clearing. Empty. Waiting. And in her notebook, a new assignment appeared. In handwriting that wasn't hers. Sketch what you forgot. She drew the spiral again, hands shaking. The page burned slightly at the edges. The forest lay quiet. But inside the town, children hummed the lullaby Ava once whispered through the static. Low, wordless, always in tune. A mother watched her son draw 10 figures around a tree. She asked where he learned it. He replied, "She showed me in the window." At dusk, a neighbor saw that same boy staring into the trees, smiling, the air still, the shadows long, the spiral visible faintly in the leaves. Across town, printers glitched, spat out drawings no one sent, new forests, tighter spirals, clearer chairs. One printer added, "Next field trip, 3:13 p.m. Ava's final spiral reappeared on the community board. No tape, no tack, just clinging, like it never left. One final line written beneath it. Memory isn't a place. It's a trail, and it's your turn to walk. As the town slept, 10 leaves drifted from a tree in perfect sequence. Each landed in a circle. In the center, one red crayon. A wind circled Pine Mill, soft, rhythmic, breathing in, breathing out. With it came a whisper, "Begin again." And somewhere in the woods, a new chair appeared, smaller than the rest, blank, but pulsing, waiting. Because the spiral doesn't end. It remembers. And now, so do you.